It began on a quiet evening in Igboora, a slow town where time moved with the rhythm of rustling cassava leaves and distant radio static. The Okafor family had just sat for dinner: pounded yam, okra soup, and grilled tilapia, prepared with love and palm oil thick enough to coat the walls. The table was cluttered but warm, surrounded by laughter, prayer, and the tinkering of plates. Love what you see? Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our future tales and stories. 8-year-old Elsie, the youngest in the family, sat at the end of the table, her fingers interlocked, back straight, her eyes not on the food, but on the open window behind her mother. Outside, the trees barely moved, but her eyes traced the swaying of shadows that no one else saw. "Elsie, your soup will get cold her mother warned, placing a piece of fish on her plate. But Elsie didn't move. She simply stared, her expression unreadable, her shoulders still. "I'm not hungry," she said softly. Her brother Tai, 2 years older and always quick with sarcasm, chuckled. "You're never hungry," he teased. "You're like those cartoon monks who eat air." "Eat your food," their father said, not unkindly but firm, not bothering to look up from his phone. "I mean it," Elsie whispered, still not touching her spoon. "I don't need food. Or water. I'll never need it again." Silence hit the table like a gunshot. Her mother furrowed her brow. "What does that mean, Elsie? Why are you speaking like this?" Elsie looked up at her mother with strange calmness. "Because I'm full. And I will stay full." "What did you eat before dinner?" her father asked, setting down his phone. "You went to the neighbor's house again?" Elsie shook her head. "No. It's not like that. I've changed. Something inside me changed. You won't understand." And just like that, she stood, walked to her room, and shut the door. They thought it was a phase. Perhaps an act of rebellion or childish imagination. But they didn't yet realize this wasn't a phase, it was the beginning of something unexplainable, something dark and ancient and far beyond any of them. Oh. By the 4th day, panic replaced irritation. Elsie hadn't eaten, hadn't drunk water, hadn't even shown interest in her usual treats, puff puff, chin chin, or the cola nuts her uncle brought from Abiyakuta. She wasn't dizzy. She wasn't pale. She wasn't, by any definition, Illinois. She was unchanged. Vibrantly so. At the local clinic, Dr. Etim, a mid-tier physician with a thick mustache and quiet suspicion of village superstitions, examined her. "She's refusing food entirely?" he asked, listening to her heartbeat, which was infuriatingly normal. "Yes," Mama Okafor said, twisting her wrapper. "No food. No water. Not even coconut water. And she still plays. She laughs." The doctor's eyes narrowed. "How long now?" 4 days. She'd be severely dehydrated by now. But Elsie wasn't. In fact, she giggled as he shone a light in her eyes, then tilted her head playfully when he asked her to say ah. "She's a clever one," he said, trying to inject humor into the confusion. He ordered basic tests, blood work, urinalysis, hydration markers. The nurse who took the sample flinched as she drew the blood. "It's cold," she whispered. "Cold?" the doctor asked. "Like ice." "It's wrong." He sniffed the vial. Not standard procedure, but this wasn't a standard case. The blood had a smell. Not iron. Not plastic or sterile metal. It smelled like wet clay and rain-soaked soil. That night, Dr. Etim returned to his office and typed his report. Halfway through, he stopped, stood up, and walked out. He never returned to the clinic. 3 weeks passed. Still, not a morsel crossed Elsie's lips. Her mother tried to sneak broth into her sleep. Elsie would wake, eyes glowing with lucidity, and say softly, "Please don't." She was weighed every Sunday. Not only had she not lost weight, she had gained 1 kilogram. Her cheeks were fuller. Her hair, once brittle, now shone. Her skin was flawless. The villagers whispered. "It's a spiritual fast," one elder said. "She is blessed." "She's cursed," said another. "A witch child." Children stopped playing near the Okafor house. At church, people avoided the pew where Elsie sat today. Her teacher at school called a meeting, requesting psychological evaluation. Some parents requested she be kept home. So she was. Elsie didn't mind. She would sit by the window and draw in silence. She filled pages with strange black shapes, spiral-limbed trees, windows opening into lakes, animals with eyes on their foreheads. She never asked for food. Never asked for drink. Only paper. And more paper. Her brother, Tai, began to worry in his own way. One day, he knocked on her door. "Do you want a biscuit?" he asked. "Or, even just water?" "No," Elsie replied. "But aren't you hungry?" She turned and stared at him, her eyes unsettling. "I used to be," she said. "But not anymore. Something else feeds me now." It only took a month for the church to react. Pastor Bacco, a tall, solemn man with decades of spiritual warfare under his belt, arrived at the Okafor house uninvited. "She needs deliverance," he declared. Immediately. That Sunday, the family gathered with him in their living room. Candles lit. Hymns hummed. Psalm 91 on loop. Pastor Bacco placed his hands on Elsie's head. "For the Lord rebukes the darkness within you." He stopped mid-sentence. Elsie opened her eyes. "You shouldn't touch me," she said calmly. His hands recoiled. His pupils dilated. He dropped to his knees, trembling. I saw something," he whispered. He left without finishing the prayer. Refused to return. Word spread. Witch child. Starving demon. Possessed prophetess. Some villagers claimed she was a spirit in human form, an abiku, a child who dies and returns repeatedly. Others said she had made a covenant with marine spirits, hence the drawings of lakes. Mema Okafor wept quietly each night, holding onto her daughter's sketchbook like scripture. She flipped through the pages again and again. They were not drawings anymore. They were maps. Symbols. Patterns. And each night, Elsie would sit beside her and say gently, "Don't be afraid. I'm still your daughter. I just know more than before." By month 4, Elsie began to wake up screaming. Not in pain, but in language. She would sit upright, eyes still closed, and mutter long streams of words no one could understand. Sometimes Yoruba. Sometimes Igbo. Sometimes something else, ancient, guttural, echoing. And then she began to draw. Always the same thing. A vast, black lake surrounded by jagged mountains that looked like shards of broken obsidian. Over the lake, stars hung low, too low, like lanterns barely tethered to the sky. In the center of the lake stood a figure, tall, thin, faceless, with its hand extended toward a child. That child was always her. Her father tried burning the drawings once. She didn't protest. But that night, she had another vision. She woke up laughing, saying, "You can't burn what was written before time." By the 6th month, a photo of one of her sketches made it to Twitter, then Reddit, then a conspiracy theory YouTube channel. Nigerian girl claims to survive without food for months, tied to ancient spirit religion. The video went viral. Soon, strangers began to show up at their village. Scientists. Pastors. Curious vloggers. Cultists. Psychics. They came with cameras, theories, warnings, donations. And Elsie? She stayed calm. She never blinked during interviews. Never changed her story. When asked how she survived without eating or drinking, she answered simply, "I don't survive. I just am." Oh. By the 8th month of Elsie's refusal to eat, the story had spread far beyond her village, beyond Nigeria, beyond the continent. It reached the inbox of Dr. Talia Monroe, a renowned physiologist and behavioral neurobiologist at Stanford University. She had built her career on studying extreme human adaptation, monks who could slow their heartbeats, deep-sea divers who could hold their breath for 10 minutes, children raised in total isolation who created their own languages. But nothing had prepared her for the email titled, "Girl Surviving Without Food or Water, 244 Days." She thought it was a hoax. Then she read the full medical reports. Then she saw the videos. 72 hours later, she was on a flight to Nigeria. The sun was brutal when she arrived at the Okafor household. A small crowd had gathered. Villagers peered from behind laundry lines and broken fences. Elsie stood at the gate when Dr. Monroe stepped out of the SUV. Barefoot. Unblinking. Almost as if she had been expecting her. "You've come from a place that asks too many questions," Elsie said before introductions were made. Talia smiled, flustered. "I suppose I have." They sat in the shade of a mango tree. Talia pulled out her equipment: stethoscope, blood pressure monitor, tablet, thermographic scanner. "Do I have to lie down?" Elsie asked. "No, dear. You can just breathe." She began with basic vitals. Everything normal. Then hydration scans, nothing out of place. Then she pulled out a test she'd never used outside the lab, a subcutaneous electrolyte sensor. It measured sodium, potassium, chloride levels in sweat. Essential for hydration diagnostics. After 5 minutes, the tablet flashed. "Inconclusive. Repeat test." She did. Same result. Then again. After the 5th attempt, the device shut off and rebooted on its own. "What are you?" Talia whispered. Elsie looked into her eyes. "I'm what happens when the hunger leaves for good." That night, Talia cried in her guest room. And in her notebook, she wrote, "Either this is the future of human evolution, or something far older has awakened inside this girl." Every viral story has skeptics. Every miracle attracts hunters. He called himself Factkill, a Nigerian-American YouTuber known for dramatic takedowns and debunking religious myths. His channel had over 2 million subscribers, and his signature catchphrase was, "If it's fake, I'll break it." He arrived in Igboora with a hidden camera in his hat, a fake identity, and a plan. He would sneak into the Okafor home during one of their public interviews, tamper with their kitchen, and catch the girl eating. He managed to bribe a neighbor to distract the family. Just before 6 a.m., he crept through the backyard, entered the home silently, and made his way to the kitchen. He opened a cupboard. Nothing unusual. Then the fridge. Empty. He brought out a small pack of groundnut from his pocket, laced with red pepper to provoke reaction. He planned to sprinkle some on a spoon and wave it under her nose. He tiptoed into her room. Elsie lay in bed, eyes closed. Her breathing was steady. Factkill crept closer, slowly raised the spoon. But then, the air changed. The room grew silent, not quiet, silent, like the inside of a vacuum. His ears popped. The spoon dropped from his shaking hand. Elsie opened her eyes. They were all black. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. Factkill stumbled backward. The groundnut in his hand turned to black ash. His camera battery died. The light bulb above them burst. He ran. Days later, he uploaded a video titled, "I tried to debunk the girl who doesn't eat, and I regret everything." He never returned to Nigeria. Dr. Monroe was persistent. She insisted on a fresh blood draw after her devices continued to fail. A trusted local lab assistant named Musa took the sample. He was calm and methodical, always humming to himself. But as the needle pierced Elsie's vein, he froze. "Her blood's not warm," he said. "It's room temperature." Talia leaned in. "That's not possible." Musa pulled back the plunger, and the blood filled the tube, deep red, but opaque, almost like ink. It gave off a scent. Not metallic. Not sterile. Like rain on dry soil. Talia sniffed again. "What is that?" Musa frowned. "It smells like the first rain of Harmattan. When dust is swallowed by the earth." They ran the blood through centrifuge machines. The results were impossible. pH, normal. Electrolytes, present. White cells, active. Red cells, altered shape, long and spiral. Molecular structure, unstable. Constantly rearranging. They sent the sample to a research lab in South Africa under a false name. The response? "This is not standard human blood. Contains ion sequences not found in any known vertebrate. Recheck sample origin." They rechecked. No mistake. Elsie's blood was alive, but not entirely hers. It happened during a church service. Mema Okafor had been begging Elsie to attend, just once more, so the community could see her as normal again. Elsie agreed. The church was full. Many came only to see her. Some to gawk. Others to judge. As the choir sang, and the pastor spoke of cleansing, Elsie stood up. Her voice boomed through the hall. But it wasn't her voice. It was older. Lower. Layered, like three voices speaking at once. And the language? Not English. Not Yoruba. Not Latin. Not Arabic. But strange. Choking. Thick. Akkadian, an ancient Mesopotamian tongue spoken over 3,000 years ago. No one understood. Except one. Among the congregation was a retired historian named Mr. Onyekwe, who had studied ancient languages. He pulled out his notebook, scribbling. Later, he translated her words. I am not who you think I am. I wear her name, but I was before her. And I will be again. People screamed. Some ran. Others knelt and cried. Elsie sat down and said nothing for the rest of the service. That night, the video clip of her voice hit TikTok and went viral across the globe. The comments were endless. This can't be real. The voice gave me chills. I cried for no reason. I dreamt about her face last night. I've never been to Africa. One woman in Greece claimed her toddler repeated the same words the next morning. One drawing had shown up repeatedly in Elsie's sketchbooks, a cavern with steep steps, clawed walls, and a narrow pool of perfectly still water inside. The Black Lake. Talia began comparing the image with actual satellite maps. Then, something clicked. A geologist from Kenya, Dr. Maina, who had seen Elsie's case online, reached out. He had seen a similar cave formation during a failed mineral survey 5 years earlier, just outside Niger State. They formed an expedition, Dr. Monroe, Dr. Maina, Musa, and 2 locals as guides. It took 3 days to find it. An unmarked hill, overgrown, forgotten. They descended into the cave. It was exactly as she drew it. The still water. The cracked stone chair. Even the markings on the wall. One carving, in particular, left them stunned. A child. A little girl, etched into the stone. Hair parted exactly like Elsie's. Next to her, a script none of them recognized. They photographed it. Talia sent it to every linguist she knew. One reply came from Prague, from a scholar who specialized in pre-Sumerian glyphs. This symbol is one of the oldest known on record. It means witness. They returned to Igboora in silence. Talia sat with Elsie under the mango tree that night. We found it. The cave. Elsie looked at her for a long time. You were meant to. I dreamt it years ago. You were there. Talia whispered, What are you, really? Elsie tilted her head. I think I was someone once. And then no one. And now I'm both. Oh. His name was Tunde Lawal, a sharp, charming investigative journalist from Abuja. Known for his popular YouTube series The Dark Truth, he had exposed fake miracle pastors, corrupt healers, and internet prophets across West Africa. So when he announced his visit to Igboora, the internet buzzed. He'll finally tell us what's really happening with that Elsie girl, one comment read. She's acting for the camera. Watch this guy expose it. He arrived with 2 cameras, a translator, and a crisp white shirt rolled at the sleeves. His plan was simple: sit with Elsie, press her with questions, record everything. But from the moment he met her, something changed. Elsie was seated under the mango tree, drawing a bird with no eyes. Tunde approached with practiced ease. Hi Elsie, I'm here to talk. Just talk. She didn't look up. You're not ready, she said. He smiled, unfazed. You sound like the pastor who cursed me in Ori. Elsie finally raised her eyes to his. No. I'm not cursing you. I'm warning you. Something in her tone gave him pause. But he shook it off and set up his equipment. They began recording. The questions started normal. Tunde, how does it feel to go this long without eating? Elsie, I don't feel. That's how I survive. Tunde, what do you dream about? Elsie, a world under this one. A world that's more real than this. Tunde, are you human? Elsie paused. Then she turned, slowly, and looked into the camera, not at him, but past it. Her pupils dilated. I was once. But not anymore. The lights flickered. The sound cut. Tunde reached for his camera. But before he could press stop, the screen turned black and displayed a message in white block text. The interview is over. His assistant screamed. The footage was gone. They searched the entire SD card. Wiped. Tunde didn't speak on the drive back. He locked himself in his hotel room. The next morning, he was gone. His car was parked at the village entrance. Keys still in the ignition. Shoes on the floor. Camera bag open. But no sign of him. Days later, a villager reported seeing him walking barefoot into the forest, whispering to himself. He was never found. It began as a hum. A low vibration in the walls, like the distant sound of a swarm. Elsie's mother thought it was the generator acting up again. She banged it with a broom and returned to bed. But the sound grew louder. Sharper. Like whispers buzzing through the air. Tari, now 14, opened the window to find the night sky covered in black dots. Flies. Thousands of them. Not regular houseflies, larger, with faint glowing marks on their wings. The entire sky above the Okafor home was alive with movement. And yet, no one else in the village saw them. Neighbors looked up and saw nothing. Phones refused to take pictures. Screens went dark when aimed at the sky. Only those inside the house could hear it. Feel it. The windows rattled. The TV turned on by itself. Elsie walked calmly into the living room and said, "They're here for me. They always come when someone crosses a boundary." Her mother trembled. What boundary? Elsie didn't answer. She stepped outside barefoot, arms raised to the buzzing sky. The flies circled above her in a perfect spiral. Then, as suddenly as they came, they dispersed, not flying away, but disappearing. The hum stopped. Elsie returned inside, expressionless. "They've given their warning," she whispered. "Next time, they'll take." No one in the house slept that night. It was Tari who found it. He had been cleaning Elsie's room, looking for her missing sketchpad when he noticed a hollow knock beneath the floorboard inside her closet. He lifted it carefully and pulled out a small tin box, rusted at the hinges. Inside was a leather-bound diary, aged and delicate. On the front, carved with a needle, were the words, "I remember before." The entry started when she was 6. They were impossible. Page 4. The man with 3 mouths came last night. I locked the window but he walked through the glass. Page 11. I saw the place again. The black lake. The stairs in the sky. The pale woman standing in the water with arms too long. Page 20. They gave me the hunger once. But I vomited it. Since then, I've been dry. I don't need food. I need silence. But what stunned him most was the language. Some entries were in Yoruba. Others in Latin. 2 full pages in ancient Greek, according to Google Translate. She wrote with the fluency of a scholar, at 6 years old. He showed it to his mother. She collapsed on the floor. Later that night, Elsie entered the living room and said softly, "You weren't supposed to find that." Tai trembled. "Why? What is this, Elsie?" "I used to be a girl. Now I'm something else." She took the diary, placed it in the fireplace, and lit a match. The flames swallowed it instantly. But the next morning, it was back under the floorboard, untouched. Oh. The Adigbis lived next door. Ever since the flies incident, they had kept a distance from the Okafors. But on one particular evening, the father, Mr. Adigbi, came knocking in a frenzy. His eyes were wild. "Your daughter," he stammered, "your daughter's reflection, it moved." They had seen her through their living room mirror. She had been walking past their window outside. But in the mirror, she stopped, stared straight at them, and smiled. A long, eerie smile that revealed nothing but cold amusement. But outside the window, she had never stopped walking. She didn't turn. She didn't smile, his wife whispered, sobbing. Only the reflection did. Within hours, they packed their belongings. Left town by midnight. They didn't even lock their door. Dr. Monroe had seen enough. She requested permission for one final, fully monitored test, a bioenergetic body scan, using a mobile medical unit brought in by her colleagues. The goal: to determine how Elsie's body maintained energy output without intake. Elsie agreed. She was placed on the scanning table, soft sensors attached to her scalp, chest, stomach, and wrists. A warm light bathed her in low-frequency waves. The machines hummed. At first, normal. Then, strange. The readings doubled, then tripled. Not just stable, amplifying. Her brainwave activity spiked. Organs pulsed with rhythms far stronger than average. Then the power flickered. One by one, the bulbs burst in the room. The backup generator kicked in, then died. The machine released a long, shrill tone, not an alarm, but something deeper, like a scream in mechanical form. The computer monitor went black. A message appeared, line by line. Stop looking. Then, she is not yours to measure. Then, she is not alone. The team evacuated. Elsie sat up, unshaken. You tried to weigh the wind, she told Dr. Monroe. Talia stared at her, a mix of terror and awe. You're not human anymore, are you? Elsie tilted her head. I'm what humans become when they remember. That night, Dr. Monroe resigned from all research positions and flew back to the US. She never published her findings. But her final diary entry, leaked by a former assistant, read, "She is not a miracle. She is not a hoax. She is a doorway. And something is knocking from the other side." The story of Elsie had by now reached the highest levels of government. Clips of her sketching strange symbols, surviving without nourishment, and speaking ancient tongues had gone viral across every continent. International media dubbed her the Hollow Girl. The Nigerian president's wife, First Lady Ifeyinwa Adebayo, was a spiritual woman, proud, regal, yet grounded. She requested a visit to Igboora, to encourage a child at the center of a national discussion. But deep down, she wanted to see with her own eyes, and decide for herself if Elsie was holy or dangerous. The visit was arranged quietly, but nothing in Igboora stayed secret for long. The villagers lined the roads. Some cheered. Others watched in silence. When the convoy arrived, the First Lady stepped out in a silk wrapper with emerald beads and walked toward the Okafor house. Elsie was already waiting outside. The First Lady extended her hand and smiled warmly. "My dear child," she said, "you've endured more than most of us can imagine. You are strong." Elsie didn't move. Then she whispered, "You shouldn't have come today. The veil is too thin." The First Lady blinked. "What veil?" Elsie looked at her, eyes suddenly not 8, not 16, but ancient. "You'll see." She reached out and touched the First Lady's hand. And that's when the screaming started. The First Lady collapsed, violently, her head striking the concrete. Her guards rushed forward, panic erupting. She convulsed, her mouth frothing. But her eyes were wide open. And she was speaking, in perfect, echoing Sumerian. Only one word repeated again and again. Alzur. 27 times. She was rushed into the convoy. In the official report, it was called a medical fainting spell due to fatigue. But on her private diary page, leaked months later, she wrote, "When the girl touched me, I remembered a dream I'd never had, a tower of fire, a child of stone, and a gate under the river. I do not know her, yet she knows everything I've hidden." 3 days after the First Lady's visit, Elsie stopped drawing. She sat under the mango tree, silent for hours. Then she stood, walked into the house, and calmly said, "Papa, I need you to dig me a grave." The room froze. Her father dropped the bowl he was carrying. "Elsie, don't talk like that." "I'm not dying," she said. "But I'll be gone. I need a place to rest first." Her mother began to cry. "You want to kill us with fear." "No. I want to prepare you. Because something is ending. And something else will rise." She took a piece of charcoal and drew a simple sketch of the house, then the backyard, then a mango tree. "Dig under this tree. 4 feet deep. Face the sunrise. No cross." "Why no cross?" Tai asked quietly. "Because this grave won't need saving." That night, her father dug the hole in silence. And the sky was clear, but the air smelled of wet iron. 6 years, 3 months, and 22 days. That's how long Elsie had gone without food or water. Until that evening. The family had gathered under the mango tree. An uncle had brought kola nuts from the east. Her mother arranged small bowls on a mat, for memory's sake, if nothing else. They sat in silence, the twilight warm and still. Then Elsie, without a word, reached forward and took a kola nut. Everyone froze. She placed it gently to her lips and bit. A crunch. She swallowed. The air trembled. Birds scattered. The lights in every house on the street flickered. The ground shivered, not an earthquake, but a vibration in the bones. Elsie fell backward, her eyes wide, her body limp. They rushed her to her room. Her breath was shallow. She muttered something in her sleep. I'm back inside the hunger. And it's angry. By morning, she was gone. Oh. Elsie's body was taken to the city hospital, under orders from the Ministry of Health. A full post-mortem was planned. They wanted answers. Proof. Evidence. 2 medical pathologists arrived at dawn. But when they opened the body bag, she wasn't there. Instead, a pile of black ash, perfectly shaped like a curled-up child, resting in the white cloth. And a single item remained. A drawing. A child holding hands with a tall figure of starlight. The caption read, I left the door open. Just a little. That's enough. The room was sealed. The body listed as missing. Decomposition anomaly. Within hours, the story spread online. Some claimed she had ascended. Others said it was an illusion, a cover-up. A few believed she was never real to begin with, just an internet myth manifested by shared obsession. But those who had seen her? They stayed silent. Or prayed more than ever before. Oh. A year passed. The mango tree still grew behind the Okafor house, though the grave beneath it remained untouched, dry, undisturbed. Tai had grown quiet. He no longer drew, no longer played. He would sometimes sit for hours outside, hoping, knowing, she'd come back. And then, one morning, the rain fell. But it didn't touch the Okafor roof. While the rest of Igbawara was drenched in muddy floodwater, their house remained dry, the grass crisp, the tree unchanged. Tai ran outside. And there, in the distance, walking barefoot along the river, was a girl. Hair parted the same way. Dress white, as if never worn. Feet not sinking into the mud. He ran after her, heart thundering. Elsie! She stopped. Turned. Her eyes were the same. Her smile, soft. Familiar. Unnerving. You remembered, she said. He trembled. Where did you go? Someplace real. More real than this. He took a step closer. Are you alive? I'm something better, she said. He stared at her for what felt like minutes. Then, before he could reach out, she turned and vanished behind the trees. He never caught up. Later that night, he found a sketchbook on the doorstep. Inside, a single drawing. A door. Just slightly open. Light pouring through. And underneath, in her handwriting. Now do you know why I never swallowed?